Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Meg, and I thought I would do a little thing here. I am going to be reacting to my first fan fiction. This is a horrifying thing that I wrote uh, back when I was, let's see, 2003. So that would be, oh God, I can't do math, but I think when I was 15, so I was just starting to write. I think this was probably one of the first things I wrote, if not the first. So this is going to be a magical experience, emphasis on magical, because this is, as you would probably expect, guessed based on the fact that it's from 2003, Harry Potter fan fiction. And it is called Harry Potter and the Curse of the Blank. I will just say it is a G word, uh, a bit of a, considered a bit of a slur amongst a lot of, well, pretty much anyone who knows better. But for the Romani people, I think I'm not too educated on the subject, but I know that it is not a word that we like to use. But it was Harry Potter and the Curse of the G blank. And let's get into it. This is going to be fun. It starts off with a little author's note, so let's just read that. Hello, and thank you for reading my first fan fiction. I only recently found this site. It was fanfiction.net, of course, but have been writing fan fiction for as long as I can remember. I think that is a lie. I don't think I had been writing fan fiction at all. This is a story that I started right after reading Goblet of Fire, and it has been really fun. I hope you enjoy reading it. Disclaimer, of course, back in the day, everyone wrote little disclaimers because we didn't want to be sued by a big bad J.K. Rowling. I do not own Harry Potter or any of the characters from these fine books. The only characters that I own are Corey Johnson and her managers. And we'll get into Corey Johnson, don't you worry. J.K. Rowling owns the others, and she has done a fine job with them, so I could never take her place as much as I would like to. The plot is mine, though. Got it good, because I was sassy. I was a sassy little 15-year-old. And here we go with the story. Harry sat at the window of the smallest bedroom in number 4 Privet Drive, his hand placed over his forehead. He watched through the window thoughtfully, though most of the world of was fuzzy and tinted orange by the outside street light. His old lightning bolt-shaped scar tingled slightly under his touch, as it always did after a nightmare. He did not feel like rising to put his glasses on or to check the time, even though the sun rising on the horizon indicated that it was morning, and he had likely been sitting still in that same spot for over 2 hours. It's not too bad of a beginning, except here we get into the dreams. They were always the same. Harry tried to recall the exact events, but they were all the same. Darkness and shadows filled with the echoes of death, death beyond what was natural, and always that same high screeching laugh, very dramatic and a little bit repetitious there, Meg. Lots of drama there. He shook his head, erasing the thoughts from his mind. Forcing himself to move, he turned, slipping on his glasses from the bedside table. His room came into focus, illuminated by the unearthly morning glow. On a battered old trunk, a cage stood open. Hedwig, a snowy owl with bright white feathers, sat on her perch, head buried cozily beneath her wing. Beside her and all around the room, thick books on curses, potions, and various charms were strewn about, melted with any number of pieces of parchment and jars of brightly colored ink, and quills of different shapes and sizes. It's actually a pretty good description for little old me. I'll give my 15-year-old self a bonus point there. Next to his bed, on top of the bedside table, was an essay written almost entirely in black. I'll take off a point because that's not the best. It was an essay on memory potions for his least favorite teacher, Professor Snape, which he had been working on the night before. Cool. Next to the essay was a messy pile of read and reread letters bearing the scrawl of his best friend Ron, the neat writing of his other best friend Hermione, a couple from Hagrid, and quite a few that bore either the large looping signature of his godfather Sirius Black or a muddy paw print. Harry sighed, remembering the dream of the night before. Here we go with that dream again. When they had started a few weeks before, he had followed Sirius's advice and sent him notice whenever one came. But now that they were occurring every other night, he had given up and began keeping a tally, which he had told to Sirius, and Sirius alone, though he supposed the information might also be passed along to Dumbledore. This is getting a little bit drony. He picked up one he had received the night before, when he had been on the verge of going to sleep and was too tired to open it. It was from Ron. Harry, how are you? I hope the Muggles aren't getting to you. The Dursleys have it coming to them if they think to pull anything after what you've been through. I think even my mum would throttle them. George and Fred are wreaking havoc as always. Some mysterious benefactor has given them a load of money, and they have designs on renting. This does not sound like Ron at all. I was not good at sounding like Ron here. Just a hint, if they send you anything, wait until you see them before you touch it. Just last week, Ginny got turned into a parrot. That's interesting. Hermione just got back from visiting Vicky in Bulgaria. She says he is going to move here for a while for some reason. I hope he isn't going to try and teach DADA or something. On the other hand, he would be gone in a year. Just a thought. Anyway, I was just wanting to tell you that we are still working on Dumbledore. He might just let you come soon. Mum is defiantly telling Dad she wants you here now. I hope that was a misspelling of definitely. Don't think Ron would be using the word defiantly for sure. She really must not like the Muggles, and I don't blame her. Hope to see you soon, Ron. That 100% is horrible. For one thing, that's a very lengthy letter for Ron to have written. For another, it just 100% does not sound like Ron Weasley. That is... No. Although he was still reeling from his dream, the upbeat tone of the letter was enough to lift his spirits. Stretching, he went to the closet and swung open the door. His face was unusually pale, and his eyes were beginning to develop faint shadows beneath them. I just really liked to go on and on at length with my descriptions. I kind of still do that, to be honest. I think I've toned it down a bit over the years, but it's just a trait I've had since the beginning. Although he was just a week shy of his 15th birthday, he looked like he was showing the stress of a full-grown ministry wizard. Harry sighed, pulling on an overlarge t-shirt and jeans he had gotten second-hand cousin Dudley, who was roughly the size of a ship. The clock flashed the time as 6:30, and Harry thought grimly that it was just enough time to fix a nice breakfast without being disturbed by his aunt or uncle. He was wrong. As he paced down the stairs, he came face to face with an unusual sight. Aunt Petunia was cleaning. No, not just cleaning, she was cleaning obsessively. I don't know why this would be an unusual sight. That was definitely a strange thing for me to put in there. Aunt Petunia definitely seems like the type who would be spot on with the cleaning. She was definitely obsessed with appearances. There was nothing to ever indicate that she was a slouch around the house. The couch was overturned, and she furiously scrubbed at a stain left by Dudley from a bowl of chocolate ice cream he'd spilt a week before. Yeah, why is it taking her a week to get to that chocolate ice cream stain? Uncle Vernon was at work rubbing at a window with a spray bottle of cleaner and a rug. And why? How on earth did Uncle Vernon get pulled into the cleaning? That's another out of character. I definitely, for being a big Harry Potter fan, was not good at the characterization here. Though by the expression on his purple face, Harry could tell he was not happy with the arrangement. Even Dudley, who in the summer commonly didn't wake up until 9 or 10, was hard at work. That is 100% wrong. Dudley would never, never. That spoiled brat. The thing that's definitely wrong here is why, of all people, is Harry not hard at work? How did Harry not get pulled into this cleaning somehow? Unless there's something I'm missing that I've written here that, that I'm about to find. He was cleaning up the refrigerator in the kitchen and just happened to be eating everything that was edible at the same time. Of course, the refrigerator was a lot fuller than it had been the previous summer when Aunt Petunia had made a failed attempt at a diet. Rather than assume Dudley might have cheated on his diet when he came home 33 pounds larger than he had been before, she called the school nurse any number of nasty names and promptly brought Dudley anything he liked at the corner store. Yeah, they would never put Dudley on a diet either. Lots of bad characterization here. I don't know where a lot of this came from. Just trying things, I guess. I don't know. What are you doing? He finally asked after watching them for a few long moments. Uncle Vernon didn't look at Harry when he spoke. Cleaning would make you help, but everything has to be perfect, so just go along, why don't you? It's kind of a flimsy excuse. They thought Harry would mess it up, but at least I did explain it, I suppose. Why are you cleaning now? Harry asked. Uncle Vernon turned an even more violent shade of plum. Because we have company coming, nothing that concerns you, boy. Now go. He shouted at Harry, who shrugged and entered the kitchen. He briefly considered asking Dudley, who was currently munching on a week-old coconut cake, to move away from the refrigerator so he could get some breakfast, but decided at the last minute such a venture was too risky and got a Pop-Tart. Do they have Pop-Tarts in Britain? I don't think they do. I'm pretty sure that's a decidedly American treat. But whatever. When I was 15, I wasn't thinking about that sort of thing. I wasn't going around Googling British breakfast pastries. So it wasn't until a moment later when Harry poured a glass of water that Dudley saw him and jumped. What are you doing here? I live here, remember, during the summer anyway, when I'm not at Hog. Don't say it. His cousin covered his ears, dropping a large piece of icing on the floor. Scowling, he struggled to bend and pick it up. Harry smirked as he watched him strain. Harry's getting mighty cocky here. I know he is getting on further along in his Hogwarts years, but why are you all in such a fuss? Harry asked finally, when Dudley stood panting against the counter, his face red from the effort. We're family coming today, he panted. Mum says everything has to be perfect. Harry looked at Dudley in wide-eyed astonishment. You mean that girl is coming today? Harry grimaced. A mental image of a picture Dudley kept in his room on his mind. Harry was not pleased. He'd only met her once when he had returned a while before from King's Cross Station from Hogwarts. She had been sitting with Dudley on the sofa, her face fixed in a look of admiration. When Harry had entered, she had looked at him, gross amusement on her features, and turned back to Dudley, the smile plastered on her face. She was like Dudley, only worse. If Harry's cousin was a ship, she was an entire fleet. So we've got some fat shaming going on here, which was unfortunate. As much as I did love the Harry Potter books growing up, JKR did have an issue with fat shaming in her books, and I was a big girl growing up, still a big girl, so, it's kind of unfortunate that I was putting that in my stories and, doing that sort of thing. So, let's just move on from that comment. She had a head full of curly blonde spirals that she tied individually with tiny pink bows that Harry thought looked like the adornment on a French poodle. Her watery blue eyes were wrinkled in her face and mostly covered by the abundance of I don't want to read that. Harry had faced many dark things. He had witnessed the return of the Dark Lord Voldemort himself, that even he could not face the terror that was Dudley's girlfriend. If I had found a different way to describe her than just going immediately into talking about her looks, if I had, talked about her, made her do something awful, if I had him walk into the room, had Harry be polite to her, and she immediately did something awful, and maybe even made her actually, not even necessarily cute, but just plain Jane, completely average in appearance, or just somehow took the focus off her appearance entirely and just made her do something awful, then it would be, more interesting to talk about, to have that actually really amusing line. Even he could not face the terror that was Dudley's girlfriend. So, I like that line there. Harry had faced many dark things. He had witnessed the return of the Dark Lord Voldemort himself, but even he could not face the terror that was Dudley's girlfriend. That's a fun little set of lines from 15-year-old me, but not coming from the best place. So, what is it? Dudley asked cautiously. Harry realized he'd been standing in complete silence for a while. He jolted himself back and grinned. Oh, nothing. I hope you enjoy your date. Did you say her family was coming? I think I should like to meet them. No, Dudley looked at Harry in horror. You're not going to do anything. I mean, Moira is my girl, and her... I can't pronounce Moira. Moira? I don't know why I chose that name. I must have Googled names or something. I have no idea. And her family, her dad is the headmaster at Smeltings. He could expel me. What would Dad think? Harry struggled to stifle in laughter as Dudley stammered, his face pale. Of course, Harry had never planned to do anything to them. All pranks and jokes he would leave to the Weasley clan. Don't fidget, Ickleduddykins, Harry said presently after watching his cousin stammer a bit. I won't do anything to your girl. You most certainly will not. Aunt Petunia, who had obviously heard Harry's threats, entered, scowling, because you won't be here. She smiled triumphantly as Harry's jaw dropped. What? Why won't I be here? He shook his head as he looked at his aunt. For a wild second he thought that perhaps the Weasleys would be coming to get him. He couldn't imagine that his aunt would have taken that news so happily. We can't risk you doing anything here. Aunt Petunia looked down her nose at Harry. That is why you will be spending the day working for Mrs. Fig. I'd heard her saying the other day that she had a few odd jobs around the house, and I volunteered you. She had a look in her eyes that made Harry cringe. You must be kidding, he said, frowning. He hadn't even seen Mrs. Fig since the first year he had left for Hogwarts. Since then, there had been too many things going on. The Dursleys hiding him and saying he went to a school for criminals. The Dursleys hiding him and saying he went to a school for criminals. And then there was the Dursleys hiding him and saying he went to a school for criminals. I think I was trying to be funny here, and it didn't quite work out. Anyway, I'm going to stop this first video here. I didn't quite make it through the chapter. Apparently, I was writing very, very long chapters at this point. So, if you watched this thing, I don't know if anyone actually will. I don't know how interesting this is going to be to anyone. Thank you. I hope you found it somewhat interesting, me analyzing this. And you know what? One thing I was kind of thinking about is it might actually be interesting at some point to go in and rewrite this. Like I said, I was 15 when I originally wrote this thing. I am 32, about to turn 33. I know I'm ancient now. So with 18 years experience in writing and actually working as a professional writer now, what would it be like to have all this experience and to actually, take this thing that I literally was one of the first things that I wrote and to use this 18 years of experience and to go back and rewrite it. So it might be a fun experiment. Don't know for sure if I'll do it yet, but it it could be cool. So anyway, I've rambled long enough. Thanks for watching. Bye.